You're just drinking beer, standing behind dudes? When it comes down to the business end of the European and domestic seasons, you expect the same names to be fighting for the titles. Barcelona, Manchester City, Juventus, they're all going to be there or thereabouts. But once every so often, the footballing world throws up an absolute surprise, much like with Ajax in the Champions League this season. So that got me thinking, who else out there is going to be able to cause a shock within the next few years? Well, we've got a Premier League team, 2 Bundesliga teams, and a few other on this list, as I bring you 5 potential clubs who could surprise you in the next few seasons. Now, first off, when I mention Ajax, I don't necessarily mean these teams are going to copy their style of club. I'm not saying they're going to be elite youth-producing machines within the next few years who don't really spend too much in the transfer market. No, rather, they're just going to cause some upsets, unsettle the natural way of things in football, and a few of them are already up to it. So with that laid out, let's get straight into the video. First off, we move to the Bundesliga, and it's less of a shock that RB Leipzig are improving year on year, but more of a realization that they are the real deal and could be in it for the long run. Now, of course, with extremely wealthy owners, you expect them to be challenging at the top of German football. However, putting that success into action and making it happen on the pitch is not so easily done. However, with their current squad, it looks like they're ready for success within the next few years, and in the last few weeks, they've managed to reach their first ever cup final, with just 90 minutes and Bayern Munich standing in their way from becoming DFB Pokal champions. The reason that they're so close to the top of German football is that they've settled into a nice rhythm. After coming up from the Bundesliga 2, they managed to finish runners-up before a 6th-place finish, and now they look well on course to finish in 3rd position this season. All of this and the constant European football means that they've managed to grow their reputation, attract more players, and of course bring in some of that lucrative money that you get from playing in the Champions League. They've already overcome the loss of Naby Keita to Liverpool, and even if they sell Timo Werner in the summer, with his contract running out in the summer of 2020, there are still so many players in the team who have yet to even reach the peak of their careers. Ryan? Because there's a lot of names to read out, I'm gonna read it off the thing, and then can you just put the pictures over? The likes of Dayot Upamecano, Ibrahima Konate, Marcel Sabitzer, Yusuf Poulsen, Lucas Klosterman and Bruma are all under the age of 25. And with a few experienced players like Emil Forsberg, Kevin Campbell, Willi Orban and Peter Gulaschi still in their 20s, this team could grow together into a real force. On top of this, Leipzig have one of the most expansive scouting networks in the world, and with the ability to bring in talent from all over the globe, I've no doubt that they will probably be lifting the Bundesliga title within the next 2 to 3 years. Next up is to the Premier League, and it's Wolves who have taken the division by storm with an exciting brand of football and some shrewd business in the transfer market. Their incredible form in the last 9 months under manager Nuno Espirito Santo has meant they have finished in 7th place in the Premier League this season. That is a record for a newly promoted side, and with the highest amount of points ever in the Premier League. They will be finishing in a Europa League berth if Watford don't manage to take that spot by winning in the FA Cup final against Manchester City. As mentioned before, the reason that Wolves will be thinking that this is a continuous curve upwards in their development is because of their dealings in the transfer market and how good the squad is that they've already managed to assemble. Now, although Wolves were only promoted last summer, they clearly have been planning to play in the Premier League for quite a few years, with Chinese billionaire owners allowing them to pump the squad full of experienced top quality players that were, in all honesty, just far too good for the Championship, the 2nd division in England. They were promoted with the likes of Ruben Neves, Helder Costa, Ivan Cavallero, Willy Bolly and Diego Jota in the squad, before adding to them with some big players for the Premier League season, like Jean Moutinho, Rui Patricio, Johnny and Raul Jimenez, who has now become their record signing after an initial loan spell. All of these players have combined perfectly together to bring the right blend of ability, experience, grit and determination, which has seen them do so well this season, especially against the top 6 sides in the division. Potentially, Wolves could be the next team to break the domination of the top 6 and completely disrupt English football. Of course, let's not be naive and say that money hasn't played a massive part in it, but that just seems to be the way that football is going these days. Most of the leagues have the biggest and richest clubs at the top because they're able to spend the most money and bring in the best players. But with Wolves, it's a little bit different. You don't quite get the sense that they're so naive or they're so reckless with their spending, much like QPR were a few seasons ago, and they're now languishing in the lower mid-half of the Championship table. Third on the list, and to a club whose youth academy will play a massive part in their future, future if, like their CEO says, they're going to have to sell a lot of their star players in the summer. For Lille, a return to the top of French football is much welcome after just narrowly avoiding relegation last season with a 17th place finish and a mid-table finish the year before that. This is in stark contrast to the turn of the decade where Lille actually became double winners in the 2010-11 season with the help of a certain Eden Hazard. They managed to win the Ligue 1 trophy and take home the French Cup. However, since then it's been really difficult to keep up with the crazy spending of PSG, which is probably why they've won so many domestic titles within the last 10 years. So what happens next? Well, Lille have turned to their youth academy in the hope that they can bring some of the mercurial talents through that have helped them so far, both on and off the pitch. They have a quality coaching setup which has brought through many a player over the years, such as Benjamin Pavard, Divock Origi, Lucas Digne, Idrissa Gueye, Johan Cabaye, Frank Ribéry, and of course, Eden Hazard. This not only helps the team on the pitch, as I mentioned, but fattens up the bank account when they're eventually sold for big money. However, this is exactly what's happening this season, and it could be detrimental to the squad if it's not reinvested properly. This season, the likes of Nicolas Pepe, Jonathan Bamba, Jonathan Ikone, and Rafael Leao have all had fantastic seasons, taking Lille to the runner-up spot in Ligue 1, and they fought ever so valiantly to try and catch the ridiculously far ahead PSG. They really are the best of the rest. Of course, with these players playing so well, some of Europe's top clubs are now circling. However, they do have the added bonus that they'll be in the Champions League next season. Maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to attract one or two players to stay, and if not, they'll certainly be getting a lot of money in from the sale of players and the Champions League that they can reinvest and bring in some quality instead. This is obviously something which doesn't always come so easy, and you have to buy the right players. But if they do, I've no doubt that Lille will be causing a shock or two in the group stage of the Champions League next year. Fourth on the list, and it's Valencia. Now, in a time of dominance from Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Barcelona, it's easy to forget that Valencia do have an impressive history, and at the turn of the decade were right up there at the top of the table. In the early 2000s, they had back-to-back Champions League final appearances, even though they did lose both, and they managed to win 2 La Liga titles in the space of 3 years. So they're hardly unknowns or minnows within the Spanish setup. The reason that the club has fallen away in the last 15 years or so is because their crippling debt has hampered them on the pitch, because they've had to sell some of their best players. The club wasn't being run so properly, so many of their superstars had to leave before they could really put together a strong team capable of competing not only at the top of La Liga, but also in the Champions League. The likes of David Silva, Juan Mata, David Villa, Roberto Soldado, Jordi Alba, Nicolas Otamendi, and Paco Alcácer were all sold and meant Valencia has struggled. But the new owner, Peter Lim, has slowly been clearing the debt, and now under Brazilian Marcelino, they are chasing back-to-back top 4 finishes and qualification for the Champions League. Now, currently, Valencia sit in 5th in La Liga. The 4th spot is occupied by Getafe. Now, the reason I haven't chosen them for a surprise package is that I don't think they've really got what it takes to be good within the next few years. This season really is a flash in the pan for Getafe, and even if they do make the Champions League group stage, I can't see them attracting or financing big moves that will see them compete for the next few years. For this reason, even if Valencia don't make it this season, I can see them breaking into the top 4 and maybe even reaching higher within the next few years. They've got a brand new stadium on the horizon, they've got a fantastic coach in Marcelino, they've already had a brilliant run in the Europa League this season, playing Arsenal in the semi-finals, and they're just looking like a solid team. If they can learn from the past and hold on to their top players such as Dani Parejo, Goncalo Guedes, Santi Mina, Jose Gaya, and Rodrigo, they'll be able to put together a real solid squad for the next few years, and maybe, just maybe, a return to the upper echelons of European football will be coming their way. Last but not least, we have our second Bundesliga team on this list, and someone, if they can hold on to their top players, they'll be pushing the biggest teams in the league all the way. And if they can't, well, they're going to get a crazy amount of money for them anyway, so things aren't all bad. In Kai Havertz, Julian Brandt, and Leon Bailey, Leverkusen have 3 of the most impressive attacking young forwards in European football. As for Leon Bailey, well, he was linked with a £100 million move to the Premier League, most notably Manchester United, a few years ago. He didn't quite make it and has had some inconsistencies in his form. However, he is only 21 years old, so he can definitely get back to filling his potential and maybe shaking off that bad boy attitude that he seems to have accumulated in the last few years. As for Julian Brandt, well, he was originally a winger, but new manager Peter Bosch's decision to move him into the middle alongside Kai Havertz has seen that both of them wreak absolute havoc for the rest of the Bundesliga. So much so that Kai Havertz now has 15 league goals this season. That's more than any other teenager in the top of European football, and he's not even a striker. This is also without mentioning the likes of Jonathan Tah, Kevin Volland, and Alario, who all add to the fact that under Peter Bosch, Leverkusen have a young, quick, impressive attacking side. And if they manage to add to this, like they may have done with the signing of Kerem Demirbay for £28 million million euros from Hoffenheim, although that's not yet confirmed, well, they'll be looking pretty decent and in a good position to not only break into the top 4, but, much like I said before with Leipzig, to challenge the big boys in the Bundesliga, mainly Dortmund and Bayern. Much like with Getafe in the way of Valencia, Leverkusen are competing with Eintracht Frankfurt. However, if they were to lose a few of their big players, I'm not so sure they've got the resources or the know-how to go on and become a big club just yet. I've no doubt they've put together some fantastic football this season and are one of the most exciting attacking teams in the Bundesliga, but it seems to me that Leverkusen have got more in the tank to go on and provide a shock within the next few years. So there you have it, 5 potential teams who could cause an upset within the next few seasons, not only in their domestic football, but also in European football. But what do you guys think? Let me know which team you think is on the up and up and should definitely be deserving of a mention. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below and smash the like button whilst you're down there, and also hit the subscribe button if you guys are new around here and want to see more content that we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.